Hey, I'm not surprised, motherfuckers.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Courtside Soundoff podcast. Once again, I'm Josh Evanoff. As always, welcome by the one and only man of the hour, too sweet to be sour. It is Angel Ortega. Probably the most packed episode we've had in a long time. We got to go over to UFC 280, which happened last Saturday. Jake Paul versus Anderson Silva, UFC Vegas 63, and Bellator 289, which are happening this Saturday, as well as a bunch of news, which we will talk about shortly. Before we get into all that, we'll talk to you guys real quickly about Rogue Energy, because this episode of the Courtside Soundoff podcast is brought to you by Rogue Energy. If you want 10% off your order at RogueEnergy.com, use the code SOUNDOFF at checkout. That's code SOUNDOFF at checkout for 10% of all your energy needs. Getting into the holiday season, boys. If you want to go ahead and get someone, get some Rogue Energy. Maybe they're looking for like a new energy drink. Maybe they're looking for something that's healthier than all the other alternatives. Go to Rogue Energy and get 10% off with code SOUNDOFF. Or if you just want to go ahead and try it yourself, code SOUNDOFF. RogueEnergy.com. Incredible sponsor of the show. Last Saturday night, well, I guess Saturday midday, if you're in anywhere else other than Abu Dhabi, UFC 280 going down from the Etihad Arena in Abu Dhabi, United Arab Emirates. Dude, this card, going into it, we kind of knew that it has the potential to be the greatest card of the year. And on paper, it looked like it might be. I don't think it lived up to the hype, but I'd say the top three fights did. And we'll start off with that top fight, the main event. There is a lightweight champion, and his name is Islam Makhachev.
Oh, man.
Yeah, man, he made it look easy. Opening round, he took down Charles, and Charles, to his credit, he threw some stuff off the back, landed a big up kick at one point. And going into round two was mostly on the feet, and Charlie Hobbs, to his credit, he had some moments. He landed a flying knee or two, he landed some good stuff in the clinch, but then they separated near the end of the round, and Islam landed a left hook that dropped him, and that was pretty much all she wrote from there. He went and got into mount, got an arm triangle, stepped over, and that was it. Islam Makhachev, and new lightweight champion, with about as impressive as a performance you could possibly have to win the title. Look, man, we knew kind of going in that this was a very reasonable possibility. I've said for a while now that I didn't even think this fight was going to be close. I was even shocked at how this fight ultimately went down. Give me your thoughts on this one, and overall, just Makhachev's dominance in the headliner.
We knew this was a possibility, man. I feel like with every fight on this card, we knew the two ways it could possibly. I will say there was one that didn't go the way I thought. Not necessarily in the three fights that were mentioned, but later on in the card. And actually, I'll say two. Well, we'll get into those later. But we knew this was always a possibility that that they could go. But I'll give Islam credit, right? I think a lot of things opened up because of the potential to take down. That's why he had so much success on the feet. I think even though Charles said, "Oh, I'm ready for the takedowns," I think I'll be fine, with it, and I'll be able to defend them and stuff them. And if we do go down to the ground, then fine. Fuck it, I'll get him down there. But I think he was still hesitant. I think he knew I need to be ready for the takedown, which kind of opened up some of the striking on the feet for Makhachev, which later on led in him going down. And then obviously Islam ends up on top. Like you said, submission happens. A lot of it was things that we knew could happen the way they did. And the clinching and all of that, and Charles ending up on bottom. It was a lot of things that we had already mentioned that we knew could happen and did end up happening. But like you said, there was things that Charles did well. There was stuff he landed on his feet, and who knows if they run it back? Who knows what Charles can improve on now that he's fought him? Now that he knows things that he can do, stuff that he can improve on, and things he shouldn't be afraid of that maybe he was afraid of or worried about going into the fight.
Yeah, the thing is like, this is kind of one of the rare fights in a long time where I'm so amazed at a person's dominance. And I kind of wanted to ask you this question. Is like, as far as this fight goes, Charlie Olives, we know the story with him, one of the greatest runs in a long time. And he kind of did what you don't see too often, where it's kind of like the Masvidal thing. I understand he's like a couple of years younger than when Masvidal made his run, but like those were two guys that kind of capitalized on their closing window. Like they're probably exiting their physical prime, and they know that, and they just go all fucking in and they reach the top levels of the sport. For Makhachev to come in here and just dominate him in the fashion that he did is otherworldly. As far as moving forward, we know that Alexander Volkanovski, the featherweight champ from down under, he came in, they had a little face-off, they confirmed that's next. Do you think that Alexander Volkanovski will be able to provide any stylistic challenges to the new lightweight champ?
I mean, him being shorter, maybe some speed advantages. Maybe he'll be surprisingly stronger than what we think at 155. Maybe those clinch exchanges against the cage will be different. But like anything in life, right, when you're small, you're always doubted, right?
Mm-hmm.
And obviously he's coming up in weight. He's not very large, doesn't appear like it. He's very intelligent. He's pound for pound king. He's probably the best fighter on the planet, regardless of weight division. I think there's something there. He works with a great camp and very intelligent, but the wrestling, I mean, we'll have to see, man. Like we've learned, don't ever end up on bottom against Islam Makhachev.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man, because, I mean, even in the first round, they had some interesting ground exchanges, and it honestly gave, like I said, I picked Makhachev. I thought this fight was going to be lopsided from the get-go, but after the first round, I was like, oh shit, like, Oliveira tangled with him on the mat. He looked pretty good. You know, he landed some elbows off his back. He threw some sub attempts. Makhachev couldn't really do anything in round one. He just kind of laid and prayed, and, which, to be fair, that's been his style for most of his career anyways. But then in round two, man, he came out, and the striking was what surprised me. I knew that, you know, for as much as Oliveira said he was not afraid of going to the ground, you could tell, like, after round one, he kind of knew that, like, all right, I gotta keep this one on the feet because I'm already down one round. And that ultimately led open for the knockdown and subsequent finish. Yeah, man, I'm very excited about a Volkanovski fight. I saw some people saying that they'd rather see Dariush get it. I think if this were an actual sport, Dariush should get it, but I mean,
right.
we're kind of past that point. I mean, Volkanovski, he has the speed. I think he has the fighting IQ, and to do well, he has the gas tank. We know. The only interesting thing for me is going to be, does he have the strength to keep that fight on the feet? Because we've never seen Alexander Volkanovski not be the strongest guy in the cage. It's literally like has Volkanovski ever been taken down? I mean, that's a good question.
Chad Mendes, but I don't think they were effective.
Yeah, I think he just pops right back up if he did get taken down.
I think that fight was mainly on the feet too at some points.
Yeah, Mendes rocked him. So, I mean, that's a big thing for me, is just seeing if he's going to go ahead and be able to. His takedown defense is 75%. It's
pretty fucking solid.
So I don't know how many times he's been shot on, but let me actually see. He got taken down. He got taken down 3 times by Chad Mendes, and that was 4 years ago.
Expected, right?
Yeah, and I can't see the control time. Otherwise, I'd give you because I don't remember him spending much time on the mat. So, oh yeah, so he took him down 3 times, but he had 45 seconds of control time.
Holy shit!
So essentially, he took him down, and Volk got right back up. So yeah.
Granted, though, off the top of my head, we don't know where those were. If they were in the center of the cage, against the cage.
Correct. We're just going by stats, but yeah, man, Volkanovski, I think. Okay, so I would not put him at anything more than a 2-1. I'd put him at like a 2-1, 2.5-1 underdog.
Let's say this. What percentage did, my bad for cutting you off there.
No, go ahead.
But I was going to ask you, what percentage did you give Oliveira going into this fight? Like, if you had to put a number on it, like 10%, 50%, 80%.
I'd probably put 10%.
What's your percentage for Volkanovski?
20.
Just 20? Not even 25? Not even 1 in 4?
Yeah, we'll go 25. I think 1 in 4. Just because I think Volkanovski, and obviously we're doing this pre-fight.
And we're not giving like a crazy. We're just kidding.
No, we're gonna have to preview because they're probably gonna fight February in Australia. So
in Perth.
Yeah, we won't even have to wait that long for the fight. But yeah, man, I think like probably 1 in 4. You know, I mean, I didn't give Oliveira much of a shot at all. I give Volkanovski a chance just by virtue of the fact that he's coming up. He has a big speed advantage. I think he's the smarter fighter. I think Makhachev, he doesn't have bad fight IQ by any means, but there are some things where, like, I don't know, it just, he doesn't seem too sure of himself at times, which is why I think he's always.
But I think that's credited to Khabib, though. He helps him a lot with the adjustments, even with the submissions. I mean, call back to that Dan Hooker where he told him to step over.
Yep.
I mean, that was because of Khabib. I don't know if he would have done that if Khabib was in the corner giving that sort of instruction or any other coach, right?
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Makhachev in the future. I'm very excited for a Volk fight, but just to kind of go ahead and move on to the co-main event. Aljamain, the Funk Master Sterling, the Funk lives on, Angel. The Funk lives on. Not the fashion we expected, though. So it comes out. TJ Dillashaw, look, man, like I said, I thought Aljo was going to put on a clinic in this one. He did. Not in the way we expected to any degree. Mostly because TJ Dillashaw apparently had his shoulder just hanging halfway off his body. And going into the fight, we were not aware. Now, we knew whenever he got, I believe it was either whenever he was suspended or whenever he went ahead and was healing from his knee injury. We know that he's had shoulder surgery on both of his shoulders. But we did not know how bad, if that was going to be a big deal going into this one. He said that his shoulder dislocated 20 times in camp.
I thought it was higher than that.
Yeah, it might be. And then on the first takedown, the first one, which was, 30 seconds, 40 seconds in the fight, he dislocated it. So, yeah, man. I mean, and from there, it was all academic. I mean, Aljo just battered him on the ground. Honestly, that fight did not need to leave round 1, and it almost made it to round 3. I mean, it was tough, man. I mean, he just beat the dog shit out of him.
Josh, I mean, TJ Dillashaw's toughness is unquestioned now, though. Correct. I mean, he survived that first round with one arm, got back up on his feet with one arm somehow, wasn't able to, post up with, like a secondary arm if he needed to. I mean, that was, I gotta give it credit. That's a different kind of human being there, dude. That's what you call a fighter.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know how anybody can question his toughness. Now, I'll admit, I'm not somebody who likes TJ Dillashaw because of the whole doping thing. But I even felt uncomfortable by how much damage he was taking by the end of the fight. I was like, dude, we really... I mean, I was making the joke when I was watching with you and the guys. I was like, we can let this go on for a little bit longer. But, I was actually not on board. I was a little bit uncomfortable, especially after that. They could have stopped that shit in round 1, and I don't think anybody would have complained. Instead, he almost made it to round 3. But regardless, Aljo gets the win. Not a whole lot to say about this one because of the injury.
I will say...
Yeah, go ahead.
I will say, Josh...
Go ahead.
Kind of shitty for Aljamain, right? Because, like I said, it doesn't come without some sort of caveat, to some people. It's gonna be, it's another one, right? Which, I mean, he won it legitimately, right? Obviously, he isn't his circumstances aren't the situation. There's nothing Aljamain can do about that. You know what I mean? But it is kind of his shoulder. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. In a roundabout way, I can kind of feel bad for Aljo. I don't think he really cares, so I'm not going to feel too bad for him either way. But
no, but
he did.
Always,
What he has dealt with is there's an asterisk, not in my view, but on essentially his entire title run for certain people. Now those people are wrong. I don't see how you could score the Petr Yan rematch. For Petr Yan, I thought it was a pretty clear win for Aljo, and then I can't blame him for getting with the hit with the knee. But in some people's view, there is some sort of, I don't want to say an asterisk, but it is weird. He's on a weird title reign, and then this does not really help any matters either. So
yes, that's the way to put it.
It's just weird, but I think he'll be all right. I am excited for his next fight because his next fight will more than likely be against Sugar Sean O'Malley.
Well, it should be. We don't know if it will be, Josh.
It should be. If things are,
Well, let's get into it because it's going to lead into it a bit. Let's get into it.
Yeah, let's get into it because Sugar Sean O'Malley made his return at UFC 280. One fight before the bantamweight title fight, and he was in a bantamweight title eliminator. That's what Dana said before the fight, and now he might change his mind because it's Dana. He didn't get the result he wanted. But anyways, he ends up defeating Petr Yan by split decision. The scorecard's reading 29-28, 28-29, 29-28. He gets the dub, biggest win of his career. He just got moved to number 1 in the rankings, which is generally a pretty good indicator to tell somebody's going to get a title shot next. Yan was ranked 1 before that, but we've seen guys get shit, dude. We just talked about it in the green room. Leon Edwards is ranked lower than Usman pound for pound, even though he beat him. We see stuff like that direct all the time. But Sean overtook Yan. He's ranked number 1. But there is a lot of controversy in this one. And I feel like controversy is almost understating it. People are acting like this is the biggest robbery of all time.
Are they die on the sword for this one, Josh.
You're gonna die on the sword for this one?
I mean, I don't, I'm not going to. For me, there's not much argument,
All right, well, let's go ahead and get into it, man. I mean, give me your thoughts on the fight. Give me your thoughts on how you scored it and kind of all the controversy coming out of it.
One, it was a fun fight, man. There was a lot riding on this. This was a big fight for Sean. Kind of potentially his coming out party in a sense, right? Not exactly. I mean, it was, I'm gonna kind of build up into this a little bit. He came out to superstar, right? Which was like perfect because it was what he came back to when he fought, Quinones. It was Jose Quinones back, after his, layoff with the whole, that whole situation. We're not gonna get it. Yeah, we're not gonna get into it. That's in the past now, right? But, come on, Josh. But, it was, and he's had this kind of rise, man, that only people in this area, I kind of want to build it upon, or I kind of want to compare it to, and it's not the same. It's very different. These guys, I think, are at very different points of their career. But kind of like Ryan Garcia, man, where he grew up in the social media era, and they're building upon that. And just like him, dude, I remember Ryan got this knockout. It was his first camp with Adrian Reynoso against, I think it was like Jose Lopez. First round finish, obviously very different. Walks out to superstar, gets on the ropes. I referenced this moment again. He's overlooking the crowd. Canelo's in the crowd. Golden Boy's in the crowd. Music starts playing. Bam. And it's kind of like, damn. This kid is a star. He's going to be a star. Everything. He's got the looks. He's got the style. He's got the ability. He's got the people behind him. For Sean, I feel like it's almost a little bit of similar but different, right? Mm-hmm. He's been talking his shit. He's been calling people out. He's called out Piotr undisputedly. He gets the fight and he wins. Now, as far as the fight itself, you asked me that. I kind of wanted to build into it a little bit. I gave him round 1 and 3. I think 2 is unquestionably Piotr's. There's no question about it. The big argument is round 1. I rewatched it today. I gave Sean round 1. I thought for me, it wasn't too much of a question about it. There seems to be a lot of controversy about it. Look, I get it. The round was close. But I really, really was able to edge it out to Sean. I'm gonna just keep it as simple as it is. And shit, I think he did it. He shut a lot of people up. The chin, the wrestling, the leg kicks, all of that happened. And he answered all those questions and he dealt with it all. He showed his toughness. You could tell at one point there was an adrenaline dump and he was out of breath and he recovered. Not fully, not perfectly maybe, but he kind of rallied back and he stayed in it. He didn't mentally break.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I believe you're referring to after round 2. He went ahead and he looked winded, and he had just lost round 2 pretty badly. So yeah, I mean, look, man, when it comes to this fight, is it a robbery? No. And I'll go ahead and say this: if you think it's a robbery, you're a dumbass. No, you're not a dumbass. You are wrong though if you think it's a robbery. I'll put it like this: I think this is a fight that it's. I said this, I think I referenced this, whenever Izzy fought Whitaker. It's probably the last time I said this in the rematch. There are, a series of results that I think are fine for this fight. That's what I think. Like a series of possible, anything from 29-28 Yan to
God, Josh, you should be a politician.
29-28 O'Malley to even a draw. I think you can make a backwards case for it, you know what I mean? Because O'Malley was so dominant in round 3. If you want to go and give him a 10-8, I wouldn't mind, especially under the new scoring rules where damage is a big deal. I mean, just a couple of things out of the way. Round 3, clear for Sean. If you think it was for Yan, you're dumb. That's about as simple as it gets. Not only did he inflict clear damage, he went ahead and, I mean, did Yan do much of it? I know that he got outstruck by 25 significant strikes. Double digits. If he scored that round for for Yan, the whole thing, Sean and Yan, I'm fucking up. But anyways, if he went ahead and scored for Yan round 3, you're wrong. If he scored round 2 for Sean, you're wrong. But I don't think there's any debate about that one. Round 1 is what it all comes down to. If he scored that round for Yan, I don't have a problem with it. In the moment, I scored it for Sean. That's how I scored it in the moment. But if he scored that one for Yan, more power to you. I mean, he got one, again, I believe he got a takedown. He had a minute of control time. He was also outstruck by 5 or 6 significant strikes. If you count those 5 or 6 more than the takedown where he didn't do anything, that's fine. So that's how I feel about it. I think that the whole crying about a robbery is so over the top, especially considering it's the second time that people are doing this for Yan. Like, I mentioned earlier, I don't know how you could score the Sterling rematch for Jan. But people cried about that one, now they're crying about this one, but for different reasons. So I feel like people just want a reason to whine. But I thought this fight was very, very close. I scored it for Sean in the moment. Watching it back, I can see clear that, like, okay, maybe Jan did win that one. But it's far from a robbery. It's a very, very close fight. And if you wanted it to make sure that, like, I hate this phrase, but don't leave it in the hands of the judges. If you wanted Jan to win this one cleanly, he should have done anything on the ground. Anything. He did nothing. He did not try to pass. He did not try and lay ground and pound. He did not go for a single sub attempt. The only person that this lies with is Jan for not doing anything on the ground. Anything on the mat. This is not an Aljamain Sterling like rematch with Jan where he beat the shit out of him from the backpack position and tried to go for sub attempts. Jan did nothing. That's why the fight result was what it was. Damage is supposed to count for more, and Sean O'Malley did more damage in rounds 1 and 3. That's the way it works. So
I mean, credit to Sean because he didn't allow him to do that damage either.
Yeah, correct. Obviously, it's not easy to go ahead and inflict all sorts of damage, but he took him down to try and take him out of his element, to try and probably gas him, try and hope for an adrenaline dump. But if you're taking him down, you're taking him out of his element, but you're also not doing anything, and he gets right back up, how much does that score for? In my opinion, doesn't score for much. So that's how I feel about it. As far as moving forward, obviously we mentioned Sean is ranked number 1. Here's the biggest thing. Do you think he will receive a title shot next? We know that at the post-fight press conference, Dana, who has never mentioned Cejudo, since he's like, Cejudo said he's coming out of retirement, Dana always shuts him down. But now that Jan lost and this result was slightly controversial, he's like, maybe Cejudo. That's what he said in the post-fight presser. What do you think will be next, and what do you hope is next?
I mean, look, it's possible for a potential Cejudo, right? Sean afterwards was kind of unsure. I think there was a combination of a lot of things because I think going through that in the moment, maybe he was like, fuck, maybe there's some questioning himself. I don't know. It was very weird from our typical Sean O'Malley post-fight, on the mic. It just wasn't what he typically does. You know what I mean? Could you agree with me on that? It was a little different than what it typically is. He was like, I don't know about the title, maybe one more. I don't know if that's him personally wanting that, being like, damn, these guys are at this level, I need to get better, or whatever it may be. Or maybe he's like, something, fuck, I'm down to take on Aljamain, the fake Meister, and take him out of the title shot. But I'm sure that raised some eyebrows too, and for the matchmakers and maybe Dana for him not being super adamant. But afterwards, Sean did say, I'm going to have to renegotiate my deal, if that's the case, if I'm fighting for the title. So who knows?
Yeah, that's not going to go well for him if he tries.
I mean, who the fuck knows what his deal is now? But
well, I mean, he got it changed after the Munoz fight, I believe. So he just got his deal changed. So that's why I don't think it'll go well for him. But he should get a title shot. That's my view on it. If you look across the division, it's like either him or Cejudo, who's been gone it'll be 3 years by the time that fight happens. So I'd much rather see Sean. I think if you said that it's a title eliminator fight, which is Dana never, these days, he never says a fight's a title eliminator. He just does not say it. This time he went out and actually decided to go ahead and say it, but if you're going to go and say it, keep to your word. Give Sean a title shot. That's why he took this fight. You can't, renege that, I feel like. But anyways, man, that's how I feel about it, but I think it's probably time to move on because we do got a whole lot of other stuff to talk about, including Beneil Dariush, man. Incredible performance. He really turned back the clock of this one. Just vintage Dariush. Ends up winning by unanimous decision after just a dominating performance, dropping Gamrot, beating him on the mat. Scorecards ended up being 30-27, 30-27, 29-28. This fight's less important because, they went ahead and said that Beneil will not get a title shot, and they took the backup fire spot away from him. But what do you think about the actual fight itself, and ultimately him getting one of the biggest wins of his career?
Impressive, man. I mean, I was surprised at the fact that he was able to deal with the takedown attempts. And kind of the Gamrot, man, because he's unrelenting when it comes to wanting to get the takedown. I mean, he did end up relying on it too much in the end, right? It ended up being, I think, to an extent, his downfall. But Beneil did his thing on the feet and on the ground. He attacked submissions in some of the transitions and, gave Gamrot a different look and put him in position where he's like, okay, if I need to take him down, he'd be worthy of this and be dangerous. Tell you what though, Gamrot has a fucking chin, dude. We got dropped in that third round. I don't think many guys in the division recover from that.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one thing we saw there. And I mean, it's no surprise. We've seen Gamrot. He's a tough son of a bitch, dude. We know that he has a good chin and everything. And we saw it we saw it there tested.
Yeah. He got dropped hard, man.
He got back up. He popped right back up. No question about it. But for Beneil, man, he's becoming undeniable. I think is the way. I think I said it that night. And I told you, I forgot who was the fighter. I said he's getting oh my God. Who was the fighter, Josh, that I referenced that night? It took a long time to get to a title shot.
I have no idea.
I can't think either. It might have been it had to have been a welterweight, I'm pretty sure.
Leon Edwards.
It wasn't Leon Edwards.
No?
It was someone else. It was during the GSP era. I can see his face.
Oh, John Fitch.
Yeah, that's what it is. He's getting John Fitch, and I'm like, is it going to turn into that? And he's not even. It is not like Beneil's a boring fighter. We've seen that.
Mm-hmm.
He's got
this fight wasn't even boring either.
It was fun.
Yeah. I
can only imagine what would a 5-round main event with Beneil Dariush would be, but I mean, credit to him, man. He had another good performance. He showed out again, and he's shutting the people up. I mean, keep doing your thing, King, but it really sucks because you're not going to get your opportunity here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel bad for Benny, man. I really do. I think that was probably one of the dude, I gotta be honest. He's had like knockouts before. He's had bigger wins. I think the Tony Ferguson one is probably the biggest one, like on paper, former champion, dominant guy. And at that point, Tony, we didn't know completely how washed he was. This one, dude, I thought probably the best win of Beneil's career. Just how well-rounded it was, the way that he kind of blended his striking with his grappling, and just him battering a guy that was younger than him, a guy that was kind of like viewed as like a future. I mean, he still is. I think Gamrot will be a future problem in this division for a while, but
shit, Habib pointed him as one of the next big things.
Exactly. And if Habib's pointing him out, that motherfucker's good, but Benny just had his number, man. He just could not get going and is getting the decision win. Opening up the main card, just go ahead and keep things rolling along. Manon Fiorot defeating Caitlin Chookagian 29-28, 29-28, 29-28. Yeah, man, Chookagian missed weight for this one. Manon Fiorot did what she needed to do. It wasn't the most entertaining fight, was not the finish like maybe we've been hoping for. But she showed that she can get past the gatekeeper and that she may deserve a title shot next. Is that what you think should be next? And what do you think about her performance over Chookagian?
I mean, I think I just don't know if she's ready for Valentina, man. That's the thing. I mean, like, she's good. She has skills, but I just don't know, man. I mean, let's be honest, Josh. At the end of the day, who really was ready for Valentina Shevchenko,
Talia Santos.
And Amanda Nunes, right? We'll give her credit is due, but I don't know. Maybe just not now. At some point, there's options though. I think there's options for Valentina, and there's different directions it could go. I don't know. I almost think if Alexa Grasso in her fight at some point, I think that could be fun.
Mm.
I mean, I don't know if they'll do that. I think Talia Santos is out of action for a little bit, so they're really not looking at maybe having a rematch with her soon. I feel like, I don't know. There's options, but I don't feel like there's one clear standout.
Mm-hmm.
I'll put it like that.
Yeah, I mean, the issue is that they all have pros and cons. They all have drawbacks because that Santos fight, she broke her orbital in that one, and that's part of the reason why she lost. She broke her orbital in round 3, and obviously we know Shevchenko came back and yada, yada, yada. But anyways, the issue with that is a broken orbital takes about a year to heal, sometimes longer. So we probably won't even be seeing her until midway through next year.
We should just say late next year. Like, it probably is not going to be midway next year.
More than likely, yeah. Grasso said she doesn't want the title shot. Yeah. Even though she's on a great win streak and she's looking great fight to fight. She's the only one of these, other fighters, like outside of, I guess, Fiorot has not fought for 5 rounds. Talia Santos did, but not before challenging for the belt. She's fought for 5 rounds before. She has a lot of experience. She's on a great win streak, but she doesn't want the title shot. So that leaves Manon Fiorot. Manon Fiorot just coming off a fight with Chookagian that was pretty underwhelming and not very entertaining and kind of disappointing. So it's like, who do you go for? I guess they're going to go for Ferrell. I think that makes probably the most sense.
I mean, they're in desperate need of a new face.
Yeah, I mean, if Grasso literally she said she didn't want a title shot, so, and Talia Santos can't, I mean, do they really put Shevchenko on ice for a rematch that, like, people will probably into it, but, like, will it move the needle that much? Not really, so. Yeah, I think Manny Ferrell is going to get it next, and we'll see what happens there. I mean, I think she could post some challenges on the feet, but outside of that, I mean, it's probably going to be one-way traffic on the ground. But who knows? We haven't really seen her on the mat much. But normally I'd ask, like, what fights can we talk about? We got to move one down, man. This was so impressive. Remember the name, Belal Muhammad. Not knocks out, but TKO's Sean Brady standing TKO at the end of round 2. Dude, Belal is a guy who I was really hoping to see some exchanges. I know that they're probably going to be limited because what's the old adage, two grapplers, you never see them grapple, they only strike. They did not grapple. I was hoping for a little bit of it, but I was not expecting this to be so one-sided on the feet. Belal Muhammad just battered him. But anyways, man, he ends up getting the second round TKO. What do you think about his win and what could be next one?
Impressive, man. I mean, he turned on the engine. He did what he had to do in that second round. I thought that Brady looked actually very good in the first round. Stand-up wise, he was doing what he had to do. And then in the second round, Belal brought it back, man. He put on, like I said, he turned on the engine. He brought it forward. He put on pressure on Brady. I think for him, man, he's right there at the top. I mean, if Colby isn't available, I think it's to be Chimaev versus Belal in a title eliminator.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because Dana went and talked about how he's going to go try and go back to the well and make Chimaev versus Colby, and that's just, I prefer if they just moved on from that fight because that's a good fight, but like, are we just going to try and make that one again and waste months of time? But I'd honestly like to see Belal versus Chimaev. I think that would be very interesting, especially in 5 rounds. Because we know that Belal is not gas. So I think that could be a very interesting fight if that does indeed happen next. But it obviously remains to be seen. As far as the rest of the card goes, the undercard, there were some good performances, a lot of decisions. What fights are you most looking forward to talking about?
We can talk about Nikita Krylov versus Volkan, man. I mean, first of all, Volkan looked great in that first round. After that, though, heartbreaking, man. Heartbreaking defeat. Nikita Krylov coming on in the following rounds and bringing it back and winning the fight against Volkan. I mean, much credit for him because he got hurt badly in that first round. I mean, it seemed like it was going to be Volkan's night.
Yeah, Volkan tagged him hard and then just let off the gas at one point, which was pretty bizarre. Because I know that he went in, if I remember correctly, he tagged him bad and then he tried to clinch. And then after the clinch, Volkan just started throwing some leg kicks and completely let off the gas. I was like, oh shit, okay. Nikita Krylov looks half awake, but if you want to start throwing some leg kicks, man, that's all good. That's your choice, But in the end, he ends up losing by decision, man. Nikita Krylov, interesting. He's continuing his kind of slow march back up the division. At one point, he came in with so much hype. Granted, he was super young. Most people don't remember that, but he was super young. He was disappointing, man. I know that he left the UFC at one point after losing to Serkinov. He came back with a lot of hype, and he never lived up to it. He got some good wins, but he had some bad losses. He's knocked out Gus. Now he's beaten Volkan. He's marching back up the rankings, man. We'll see what happens with him in the future. But that was a solid performance by him, especially coming back. I did not expect that. Other fights in the undercard, Akbar Nurmagomedov got a nice win. Armor Petrosyan defeating AJ Dawson, solid win by him. The big news kind of coming out of the early prelims was Muhammad Makayev, Malcolm Gordon. Greatest prospect in the UFC, bar none in my opinion. Muhammad Makayev.
I've sold you, Josh. I've sold you.
You have sold me. And then, he had 2 dominant wins. and some people were not impressed with his win over Charles Jordan. I thought it was a great win. He didn't do a whole lot of damage, but if you're able to take somebody completely out of their element for 15 minutes and just do whatever you want to him on the mat, that's a good win in my eyes. This one, Malcolm Gordon is a good guy. We knew that going in. But, dude, he brought the fucking fight to him, man. He brought the fire to him. We saw Makayev really, really tested for the first time. And dude, not only did he persevere, he comes back, gets an armbar in the third round to close it out. Just an amazing performance from Muhammad Mokaev. Maybe not amazing performance, but an amazing just fight and the way that it kind of went. Very impressed by his poise as a 22-year-old kid to come back, stay in control, not get too gassed, not deal with an adrenaline dump. Like, Angel, think about this. The amount of fighters that would have had an adrenaline dump whenever Gordon came back and started, doing some things on the mat near the end of round 2, a lot of fighters would be mentally just destroyed by that. An undefeated 22-year-old, this motherfucker just started drinking, okay? This kid is so young. All right.
Well, he's Muslim. No drinking for him.
Oh, damn it. You're right. Anyway, so yeah, this kid's so young, but guess what? He stayed poised. That's the impressive thing for me, man. That's what sold me, is him coming back from the adversity. Like, it was far from his greatest performance, but staying poised under pressure. That's the big thing that you can't teach it. I have to take a look at the rankings.
He's ranked.
Hold on, you know what? We're gonna look right now, Angel. How about that? I'm gonna take a look at the rankings right now. Right meow. Right fucking now. We're going to take a look at the rankings. At flyweight, I know that we talked about it when we were hanging out, but I can't remember who I said.
I think Tim Elliott would be a good
He called out Brandon Royval. I think Tim Elliott is the move.
I think Tim Elliott, former champ, great camp. There's a lot there.
That one, or I think Jeff Molina could be fun, but I think that'd be a bit
Molina just fought?
Huh?
Molina just fought not too long ago, I believe, like early this year. He might be available. Actually, I don't know.
I mean, if he just fought, then they probably even line up time wise.
Well, the thing is, Muhammad wants to get one in for December.
Oh shit, dude! Jeff Molina is fighting. I'm sure you remember this name, Jimmy Flick.
Yes,
in January. That's a banger right there, man.
Yes.
All right, Tim Elliott's not scheduled though.
Tim Elliott's not scheduled. Manel Cape has no opponent at the moment. Matt Schnell was one of the ones that I mentioned earlier on in the year. There's a lot of guys. I think you could just gotta give him a ranked guy, regardless. Like, I'd say, as long as it's not 5 through 2, like it isn't Brenner, Askar, Kaikara, friends, but because he really hasn't earned that right yet.
No, not at all.
As good as he is, but if he fought like Alex Perez or Matias Nicolau, essentially any other guy who's ranked, I have no issue with it. And I mean, Josh, if he beats a ranked guy, he's gonna move very quick.
Yeah, correct. I mean, of all the names you mentioned, I'm starting to like that Tim Elliott one a lot more, man. I think that's going to be a really, really good fight. But
Tim Elliott's like on a 2-win streak, right?
3 of his last 4.
That's not bad. That's not
bad at all.
For a 35-year-old flyweight? Come on, man.
Yeah. KC's own. So let's see it, man. I like that. But I think it's about time to move on from UFC 280 because we got a big fight card this week. Well, we got a couple of them. Well, maybe not big, but we got a couple of fight cards. There is a big one though, and it's not even MMA, it is boxing. And let's just be honest, man. As much as I like the UFC Vegas 63 main event, I like that some of the fights on the Bellator card. Jake Paul versus Anderson Silva is the biggest thing happening this weekend. And it's a little bit weird. Because this Jake fight doesn't even feel like it has as much hype behind it as his first one with Woodley, for instance, the Askren one. But I feel like as we get closer to fight night, that will change. Yeah, man, Jake Paul, the problem child. We're talking about him for the first time since his win over Tyron Woodley in the rematch in December 2021, last December. Undefeated as a pro, 5-0, 4 knockouts. Cleveland's own, taking on the Spider, Anderson Silva, the Brazilian great, former UFC champion, one of the GOATs at MMA, moved into boxing, beat Chavez Jr., knocked out Tito Ortiz, and had an exhibition where he did not knock out the guy, but he easily could have, which was really, really funny. I encourage people to watch Anderson's exhibition with Bruno Machado, because at one point in round 6, it looks like he just forgets he's supposed to be taking it easy. He nearly knocks him the fuck out. So, yeah. So Anderson's a beast in the boxing ring. The question is has Jake made up the gap in the year, almost a year that he's been out of the ring? I think whenever most people had this fight announced, they thought, oh, Jake's going to fuck up this old man, or this old man's going to fuck up Jake. Just because his boxing skill is so wide. And we saw that in the Tito and the Julio fights. And when you're at his age, he's 47, you drop off a cliff. Like, it's a miracle that he's as good as he is for his age. and he could just randomly drop off a cliff one of these days. Angel, give me your excitement level for this fight. What do you think about it as of right now, just a couple of days away from the showdown on Showtime?
Man, I'm excited, you know. A big one for Jake, big one for Anderson. Hey man, are you not excited?
No, I thought it would have been funny if you just stopped right there. You're like, no, I'm excited.
Yeah, I mean,
Full stop. You don't say anything else.
I'm excited. That was the end of it. I don't say anything else.
Yeah, you just stop right there. You're like, you fucking.
What is? I was like, Josh, I could give two fuck. No, I was kidding.
Like, Josh, listen to MMA show. Let's fucking get back to fighting.
Let's get back to let's go talk. This is like CFC is going down this week, right? Which is Alaska FC, you know. No, but to reel it back in. No, I'm genuinely excited. Like I mean, Josh, you know this. I almost flew out to Arizona to watch this live.
This is true, guys. This is a true story. Our former guest host of the pod, Nate Beggs.
I mean, Josh, I was about to be Jorge Masvidal. Less than a week's notice, I was going to fly out to Arizona, go, show up, make weight, and watch the fight.
Damn, you're going to make weight.
I was going to make weight, dude.
You're going to do a weight cut just for no reason.
Let's do a weight cut for no reason.
You're going to go to the fight fucking shredded, though.
Yeah, yes, that's going to go make weight and be shredded. But, man, let me tell you this. I was definitely not fighting 187. Let me tell you. But no, talking about the actual fight. Look.
Fuck up, Francis Ngannou, man.
Yeah, nah. But stylistically, right? I think out of all the opponents that Jake's had, is gonna be the hardest, most elusive. Anderson is just awkward. I mean, there's tiny little shit that we even saw in that Chavez fight, like even shit that he'll do with like the foot. You know, he'll move a foot a certain way, just to like throw you off. He's not doing anything. He's just doing it to like. Throw out a jab, just throw you off, or little hesitations that he does. I mean, he's going to deal with the feints that he's never seen before. There's no one that Jake can bring in to imitate Anderson Silva. Let's just be honest. No. That's the thing. And granted, at his level, who knows bringing in someone who to even try to imitate his style is effective to him or not, right? But I think this will show a lot of, how genuinely how good of a boxer Jake is, how much he's progressed. And I think if he does knock him out and finish Anderson, which, the MMA community is hoping doesn't happen, they'll be like, well, he was 47, he had been knocked out in MMA, yada, yada, There'll be a lot of that. But I think you have to,
impressive win, though.
I think it'd be his most impressive win to date. I think and then if he gets that Tommy fight, I feel like that's kind of like, shit, man. Anderson still fought, like, we reference Julio Cesar Chavez, man. People want to clown and make fun of, I'm like, dude, at the end of the day, that guy fought for a world title. He had multiple.
No, not even just fought. He was a champion.
He held the title. He's been in there with some of the best. He's held his own, and he's competed a lot. He has multiple rounds under his belt, way more than Anderson Silva in boxing. And Anderson Silva had the performance that he did against Chavez Jr.
Dominated him, yeah.
Dominated him. It was insane. It was one of the most craziest moments in my time of watching combat sports ever. It's unforgettable.
In fact, it was so lopsided that Anderson beat Chavez in Mexico by decision. They couldn't rob him. One judge gave it to him, but the other two were like, "Fuck, man."
Josh. If anything, it being in Mexico actually helped Anderson Silva.
I guess you're right. You're right. I mean, yeah, man. You went in and laid it out really well there. I think that Anderson, this would be his best win by a mile, because as much as I like Tyron Woodley and Ben Askren as MMA fighters and people, they're not boxers. And not only are they not boxers, they're not great MMA strikers. I mean, Ben's arguably the worst striker in modern MMA history. I'm sure there were some guys that I've never seen fight, but of guys who made it to a reasonably high level, he's the worst. The guy made Damian Maia look like Roy Jones. That's just, But anyways, and then even Woodley. I mean, Woodley had it, he had hands, but in MMA, because he could feint the takedown and land the right straight. He was great at that. That worked for a long time, but you can't do that in boxing. You can't throw a fucking takedown. So Anderson is a great striker, not only MMA and boxing. And we saw that in the Chavez Jr. win. I know as people hate, like, oh my God, Chavez Jr. is like the worst ever. I'm like, he was just being competitive with Daniel Jacobs a year before he lost to Anderson. He was winning against Daniel Jacobs until he quit on the stool in round 7 because he got tired, which that's Chavez Jr. for you. But I mean, yeah, man, he's a former champion. His fight, he knocked out Andy Lee. His fight with Sergio Martinez, that 12th round is probably my favorite round in boxing history, straight up. It's like that one Joshua Ruiz, I believe round 3, round 4, whenever they both got knocked down. There are a couple other good ones, but if you've ever seen Chavez Jr. versus Sergio Martinez round 12, go watch it. It's one of the loudest crowd reactions I've ever seen. And Chavez Jr. was a dog at that point in time. Was he older and more washed by the time he fought Anderson? Yes, but he was also 12 years younger, so, it is what it is. Look, man, as far as the fight goes itself, right now, betting odds are virtually identical. So if you guys want to go and bet on this one, go for it. Angel, gun to your head, do you think the problem child moves on? I know that we've talked about this a lot going into the build-up and kind of going into this fight card about how close it's going to be. It's going to be one of those fights where it's either going to go one way or the other. Either Anderson's going to go out there and put on a boxing clinic, or Jake's going to catch him with that big right. The blonde bomber will do it again. Angel, if you have to make your, I think I'm doing pretty good building this fight up. They should fucking pay me. But anyways, Angel, if you have to make a pick, who would you pick on Saturday?
Look, Josh, the right answer is Anderson Silva. I'm going to be honest with you.
Really?
Like you've said this many of times on this show. When it comes to Jake's fights, Anderson Silva should win this fight. That is more clear now than the Tyron Woodley, any of those. Anderson Silva should beat Jake Paul. He should. Does he? We'll find out. I can always see Jake winning. For the longest, I rode with Jake the whole time, Josh. I'm finally switching it up.
That's what gives me pause, because I've gone back and forth on Jake. Like I picked him to knock the fuck out of Woodley in the first fight. Like I was sold after.
You were a fight late.
I was a fight late because the Askren one I thought like if he can clinch maybe but I was like all right well I forgot this is boxing. Like they're not.
The man came out looking like a bag of milk.
The second Ben Askren clinched, and the referee was like, "Oh yeah, whoa, like fucking."
What are you doing?
That shit up and I remember listening to Ben talk about it like a couple of days later. He's like, "Dude, I watched Frank Mir and Steve Cunningham clinch for 4 rounds. Like fucking,
come on, dude.
What the hell, man? Like." But yeah, man. I mean, the fact that you're having some pause is kind of the biggest sign. I said this whenever the fight was announced, right? I said that people are going to be surprised about how lopsided this fight is. And I said that in the direction of Anderson. I feel no reason in the months since it's passed to feel any different. You know what I mean? I think that's just all what it comes down to. Jake, I'm sure he's been putting in work, but I rewatched both the Woodley fights, which was essentially like just torturing myself for 40 minutes.
Well, the first one, it was you could.
The first one wasn't a bad fight. Well,
the second one until the knockdown.
Probably the worst fight, of a big fight I can remember. Like a pay-per-view headliner, I'll put it like that. The worst pay-per-view headliner I've seen in a long time. Because I've seen some bad fights.
Okay, but is it worse than Rose Esparza?
They didn't headline the pay-per-view, but,
oh wow, good job dodging that one.
No. Well, that's why I prefaced it. Because I meant you'll see bad fights on undercard all the time. Although I do think I think Rose Esparza was at least funny. Okay,
Francis Derrick.
No, Francis Derrick was hilarious, but I'd probably yeah, I'll say that Jake Woodley 2 is better than that one. But yeah, man, I think people are gonna be surprised at how lopsided this one is. I think Anderson's gonna do this. I think he's gonna do it cleanly. I could see Jake landing some shots. That's not really a question to me. He's gonna land some shots.
If Anderson wins, how's he gonna win, Josh? Can you describe it to me? Could you even paint a picture?
Late stoppage. I think this fight is very, very big for Jake.
Does the quarter throw in the towel for Jake?
No, I think he'll just end up getting TKO'd. I think he'll probably, what I see happening early is I think Jake's going to come out and go for broke. Because I think he's very well aware of the fact that he's fighting a guy who's great cardio, who will not slow down for 8 rounds, and he's at a big boxing disadvantage. So his game plan, and more than likely his coach's game plan, is to go in there, go for broke, try and find the big right hand early, pressure him, and do yada, yada, yada. All I think that's going to lead to is Jake taking a bigger beating early than he needs to. That's my thoughts on it. I think that Anderson's going to go ahead and early rounds, pick him apart, stay out of the way, use some more defensive boxing, and then in the middle rounds he's just going to flip that switch and turn it on, and he's going to end up landing some big shots, and it'll be called off. I don't know which fashion. I mean, Angel, it's coming to me right now. Actually, I'm getting a vision. I'm getting a vision of the fight.
I see it, Josh. It's Jake. He's doing a Dempsey roll. Mike Tyson style. No, I was kidding.
No, Angel, I see it. It came to me in a dream. Angel, it came to me in a dream. I think Anderson's going to knock him out in round 7.
Holy shit, really?
I think late stoppage.
What punch?
I think Jake's going to try and land the right hook. Anderson's going to come back with a left hook. Just put him out. Not put him out, but knock him down and he won't be able to reach a 10 count. But I think this is going to be a fight where we're going to come out of this respecting Jake more. I think it's going to be one of those fights where he gets out of class, but he just keeps on moving forward. And people are going to respect him more. But I think even for Jake, dude, this has to be a huge mind fuck. Like, this has to be a massive mind fuck. Like, I'm not sure if you guys, go back and rewatch Jake's fights against Woodley. Especially the first one, he looks like he's shitting his pants in the walk down and in the introductions. He looks like he's about to puke. Like, that had to be a huge moment.
In the second one though, he did a lot better. He came out confident. He was dancing.
But think about this.
He was living in the moment.
He's fighting his literal childhood favorite fighter. Like, that's gonna be a big mindfuck for him.
Dude, and not just anybody. Anderson Silva, one of the great, in the eyes, some of the GOAT, you know?
The GOAT of MMA in some eyes, and even in boxing, he's very, very skilled, you know? But let's say Jake does win this one. What's next for him? You think it's
Tommy? Why, dude, we've seen the kind of opponents Tommy fights, you know?
Yeah.
If I'm Tommy, I'm like, holy fuck.
Like I said, I think Tommy beats him. I think Tommy beats him pretty easy, but I think that'd be the fight to make.
I mean, we'll see what kind of Jake comes out though, too. You know what I mean? I mean,
That's
what if Jake in this time comes out and shows a new layer to his game? What if he's developed a different style? You know what I mean? Like, I joked about the Dempsey roll, right? But what if he shows something like that, or maybe he comes out with you know, and I'm just using this as a hypothetical. You know what I mean?
Well, that's partially the reason why this fight's a little. That's why, the closer it gets, the more I'm kind of doubting my pick, because we haven't seen Jake in a year. And whenever you're 25 and you have nothing to do but train, that's a long time, dude. A year's a long time whenever all you're doing is getting better and training and you're such a novice to the game. That's a lot of time to have. But with what we know, I'm still going with Anderson, you know. But hey, I mean, if he does beat Anderson, sure. I mean, we'll see him against Tommy next, I assume. Probably in the UK if I had to guess.
You don't think JJ, instantly after?
Oh, man. It could be.
Well, you know something, Josh? When Jake knocks out Anderson Silva and he's holding the title for influencer, and then his brother, Logan, goes to Saudi Arabia and beats Roman Reigns to go of WWE.
The Paul brothers are going to have all the belts.
They're going to dominate the world. Oh, God.
But, yeah, man, that's my thoughts on that fight. I'm very excited for it. But just go ahead and move on to some of the undercard
I will
fights.
say, Josh, now that we're talking about it, it is kind of a mindfuck. This is this weekend.
That's what I said in the green room. I'm like, man, this does not feel like this fight's going down this week.
But it is. It is.
And I'm excited for it.
Josh, if I told you, let's say, when we were in high school, right? Right after Jose Aldo gets knocked out by Conor McGregor, I'm like, Josh, in a few years, 5-6 years, Jake Paul is going to fight Anderson Silva in boxing.
Yeah, I mean, wouldn't compute.
What would your reaction be at 16?
It wouldn't compute. It just would not make sense. But
she'd be like, this fucking idiot, dude. What the fuck?
This guy's going to get killed. What is he doing? And now I'm like, oh shit, he might kill Anderson, you know?
But it's not even that. If I'm telling you this is going to happen in the future, Josh, Jake Paul, the YouTuber, is fighting Anderson Silva, the MMA fighter. I'm telling you this in 2016.
Yeah.
You don't believe it, do you?
No chance.
We live in that reality, Josh.
We do live in that reality. And we'll see what happens, but it's going to be interesting, man. But to go ahead and move on to the undercard, because I do think there's a couple of interesting undercard fights. Most notably, Uriah Hall taking on Le'Veon Bell. Yep. We talked about it and got announced.
Also a mindfuck, dude.
Yep, it's another one of those that is an absolute mindfuck, dude. I mean, give me your thoughts on that matchup. I don't think you have to make a pick for it, but just go ahead and give me your thoughts on it.
I mean, I sat in the press conference for it. I was there, you know, representing the the whole Courtside Soundoff. You guys are welcome, as always. Me
Yeah, you guys are welcome. Yeah.
Carrying the flag, as I do. But, no, I mean, fuck, I mean, it's boxing, it's not MMA, so fuck it, right? Do your thing, Uriah, do your thing, Le'Veon. I'm curious to see what happens, and curious to see if Le'Veon, continues to grow in boxing, since he's already kind of, did some good stuff in his first one, but it wasn't against anybody who had any sort of combat experience prior. They played football just like he did.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's going to take on Uriah Primetime Hall, who's fucking terrifying. But I think the one thing that Le'Veon can at least go into this thing about is that one of the best weapons that Uriah has won't be available, which is his kicks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's big. I see a lot of people saying that Uriah's just going to run right through him, and I don't know about that, man. I mean,
I feel like it could be oddly competitive.
I think it's going to be competitive. I think Uriah is not a boxer. And I think Le'Veon Bell has legitimately trained boxing longer than Uriah Hall has.
Watch this look fucking dumb.
It's possible.
If Uriah comes out, it just beats the shit out of Le'Veon Bell.
It's more than possible for that to happen. But, I mean, all I'm saying is a late...
Well, Josh.
Yeah, go ahead.
Gun to your head.
Gun to my head, I have to make a pick?
Yes.
Uriah Hall.
Okay.
But it'll be close. It'll be close. That's what I think. I think Le'Veon's going to put in. I think he'll do better than what people expect. The only question here is though. But wait a minute. I'm reversing the gun right now. Who the fuck are you picking, motherfucker?
I'm picking Uriah. I'm picking Le'Veon out Uriah Hall.
Oh, okay, sweet. All right. So, but here's the big question though. Are you more excited for this fight or Dr. Mike versus Chris Avila, which is opening up the card?
Uriah Hall versus Le'Veon Bell. Dr. Mike, Chris Avila is like, yeah.
You're not down. You're not down with that?
I mean, it's all right. You know what I mean? I mean, credit Dr. Mike, but he's a doctor, dude. Like, why are you doing this?
Dude, why very well might.
Why are you doing
this? He might win.
He could.
Yeah, he very well might beat him, dude.
I mean, but Josh, his fucking opponent before this was Ian Washburn, aka iDubbbz.
You mean I can't even think of a funny nickname for iDubbbz, but yeah, I mean, the monster iDubbbz, dude. Like, come on. Like,
come on.
I mean, I understand that Chris Avila trains at the Diaz's, but like, have you seen content cops of those old ones? I mean, yeah, come on, man.
Like, give credit to iDubbbz, dude. He was tough as shit.
Dude, there are certain things you can't teach. And he had that dog in him, so.
He had that dog in him.
That dog in him. But, anyways, man, yeah, that's about all my thoughts on the card. I think it'll be a lot of fun. I think some people take this stuff too seriously. People are like, oh my god, Jake, like, people are gonna lose their minds if Jake knocks out Anderson. But it's like,
I feel like with anything, with influencer boxing, people take it so serious. I mean, I see constantly, what a joke, what a this, what a that. I'm like, they're doing it, why don't you do it? You know what I mean? Like, be there, make a difference. If you think you're that fucking good, do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have an issue with this sort of thing. I think it'll be fun. I think that if you take it for what it is, if you take it at just at base value, which it's just a freak show fight, then, sweet. If you guys get angry about it, that's your problem. I don't know what people get angry about it. The time I've ever gotten angry about an influencer fight was whenever I had to sit and watch fucking the Ben Askren pay-per-view, which, like, that thing was literally like 7 hours long. That Triller pay-per-view.
Oh, they had all the music shit, right? They had all the fucking...
I timed it at one point. We went 2 hours without a fight at one point because they had the opening fight, which I think was Joe Fournier and Raycon. Then they had nothing but nonstop skits, interviews, and music for 2 fucking hours before they put on more fights.
Was that Paul versus Woodley or no?
That was Paul versus Askren. Yeah, that was the worst night of my life. But anyways, because I had to work for that one.
You know what's crazy? That wasn't like a bad card though. Like that, they had
the fights were fun.
Steve Cunningham, Frank Mir.
Regis
was on that.
Regis against Ivan Redcatch. That was fun.
Yeah, Regis has been killing it since then too, by the way.
Yeah, but anyways, man. Time to move on because there is a lot of other combat sports like we mentioned. UFC Vegas 53 is going down for the UFC Apex in Las Vegas, Nevada. The featherweights, Calvin Kattar, Arnold Allen going head to head. Very fun fight. The featherweight division needs someone to step up. They need it because all these guys in the top of the division, like Yair, he said he wants a title shot, but like his win was like, an injury win over Brian Ortega. Josh Emmett wants a title shot, but his best win was like a split decision win over Calvin Kattar that most people didn't think he actually won.
Yep.
Arnold Allen is a good name, but outside of Hooker and Sadiq Youssef, he hasn't really gotten any big names. He's not very active. This is Arnold Allen's chance to stamp his name on getting a title shot. The Almighty from England. In his first main event. Give me your thoughts on this matchup, dude. I think it's about as 50-50 as it gets. I think it's honestly just an excellent fight, just top to bottom.
I mean, look, let me talk about Arnold Allen here for a bit. He's one of those other guys, kind of like Leon, doesn't get the attention he deserves. But Arnold Allen's fucking good, dude. We've seen, obviously, you don't get 18-1 without being good, you know?
Mm.
Finally got to finish. Granted, that was over a struggling Dan Hooker, you know? But nevertheless, he got it. I remember in that Sadiq Youssef fight, I'm pretty sure he dropped him in the first round. The guy's great. He has good kicks, good ground game. You know, solid on the feet. You know, I wouldn't say he's he's no Israel Adesanya, right? I always go to the extreme, but it's just to give a person an idea. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Kid is very, very fucking strong. I mean, he's always in the gym. Granted, I think that comes from his dad, his dad was, I don't know if bodybuilder, strongman, something like that.
I believe he was a strongman. I believe.
Yeah, and I mean, this kid. I mean, you look at him; he's a beast. You know, like
he's shredded.
He's fucking shredded. He's enormous. He's always in the gym. He's always training. And Calvin Kattar, I mean, we've seen it, man. We've seen the talent. Obviously, last time out didn't go his way. Some of us thought it should have. Very impressive with Giga. He's a very. I don't want to put it in one bad way. I don't want to say one-dimensional because he can do a little bit of he can do everything, right? Mm-hmm. But he's good at those things. He does. He's solid at it. I mean, his boxing, we've talked about it's some of the best, but then Max Holloway put a clinic on him, you know what I mean? Has some stuff on the feet. But we've seen he's fallen a little short against some top talent to beat, obviously, Renato Moicano, Max Holloway. Josh Emmett, but it was a split decision, obviously, because of the caveat. Against Arnold Allen, I don't know, man. I want to see if the damage is built up, see how he deals with all those combinations starting from his feet. See what kind of trouble it gives him. Curious to see if Calvin decides to take it around and maybe not keep it on the feet, or if Calvin's actually just going to tee off on Arnold Allen and put a clinic on him, just like he did in Giga Chikadze. I'm going to go Arnold Allen on this one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at too, man. I think Arnold Allen, it's kind of his time to make a big statement. I think he's going to. I think he's good everywhere. Calvin Kattar is very, very good. And I think we saw that in his win over Giga and his should have been a win over Josh Emmett. I think he's right on the verge of I can't explain it. Because Calvin Kattar looks like, at times, he looks like he's the real deal, and then he just looks like unbeatable at times. That Giga fight being the best example. He beat the shit out of him for 5 straight rounds, man. And then other times he's just kind of hesitant. He can't get things going. He's a very off-on fighter. I think Arnold Allen's going to take him out of his element, and I don't think he's going to be able to get the chance to get going in this one. I'm going to go Arnold Allen. I think he's getting the biggest win of his career. And I think we should be talking about him more for a title shot. I think this kid is going to be 19-1 if he wins here. Very lengthy UFC win streak. I know Dana White said that there's going to be no interim title while Volk's out, which is
kind of just, I don't know.
It's a weird decision. I think in a division right now where there's a lot of clarity that's actually needed. I think giving him an interim title would kind of help solidify the situation. And considering Volk, who knows what's going to happen? We know obviously the goal is for him to fight Islam in February. We don't know if that'll happen. What happens if he gets injured? So on and so forth. But it's like, I think making an interim title would make a lot of sense. But I mean, I don't know. They make interesting decisions sometimes. I'll put it like that. But as far as the co-main goes, it's also another banger. Bit of weird placement, I will grant, but it is a very fun fight. Max Griffin, Tim Means going down to welterweight. 2 guys who like to scrap. What do you think about this one?
Man, another banger of a fight. These guys have a lot of opponents in common, I don't know if you've seen that, Josh, but they faced a lot of similar guys at their time at 170. Mm-hmm. And Tim Means is what was the way I heard it? Someone put it. You expected to win the fights. Like, you know what fights he's going to win and you know what fights he's going to lose.
Yeah.
Is kind of the thing with him. I say maybe there were some in there, maybe like 1 or 2 where you could argue against. Obviously the Kevin Holland loss a bit rough, but let's be honest. Tim Means hasn't really changed from where he was at, where he was in his prime to now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Still struggles on the, with some ground stuff, and particularly when he's on the defensive end, not so much the offensive end, because when he's on the offensive end, he finds some success. Max Griffin, much credit to him. Good guy in his own right. Some similar opponents, a tough loss against Neil Magny, but Josh, we talk about Neil Magny all this, all the time, and we always praise him and give him credit. I mean, and I remember Max Griffin had a hell of a performance against Carlos Condit. What was it, last year? I remember that was a good ass fight if I remember right.
It was a very good fight. He knocked it out a couple times. Nearly cracked the uncrackable chin.
That's what it was. Look, I would go Tim Means in this one. I think he's going to get it done. I think he's going to come forward, do some damage, land some big shots, and give Max Griffin a tough night. Max Griffin, though, very well could do the same thing, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I agree that he's going to give him a tough night. I don't agree with your pick, actually. I think that Max Griffin's kind of doing what I kind of said earlier. Not exactly the same thing as a Charlie Olives or Jorge Masvidal, but I think he's kind of maximizing his potential. He knows his window is closing. He's 36 now. He knows he probably doesn't have much left, so he's putting everything he has into being the best that he can right now. He lost a split decision to Neil Magny, which he arguably could have won. That was a very great fight. Prior to that, he won 3 fights in a row, including that great win over Carlos Condit. I think he's going to keep things rolling here. I think he's going to get right back on the right track and defeat Tim Means in the co-main event. The rest of his card is pretty solid, man. There's some interesting names here, some interesting fights. Most notably, Dustin Jacoby, Khalil Roundtree on the main card. Give me your thoughts about that one. You went in and mentioned in the green room you thought that one should have been on the co-main, and I kind of agree.
I mean, this is a heartbreaking one, man, for me, because obviously I love Khalil. We all love Khalil Roundtree, right? Bangkok Roundtree, we bring it up all the time.
Yeah.
And Dustin Jacoby, man, he's put a little win streak together. He has some history outside of the UFC and some kickboxing, right? Very talented guys, been able to string the wins together. There's just a lot of attachments to both these guys. It seems that fight is obviously heartbreaking, but the best will be to fight the best, and these guys are some of the best right now. And this is a dangerous fight for both of them. I mean, it's gonna be on the feet. Even with Khalil's improvements and going over to Thailand and all that, I'm curious to see how it fares against Dustin Jacoby's established kickboxing style that he's brought over from his kickboxing days now to MMA.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man, he's a guy that is on the most low-key win streak in the entire UFC. I know we talked about some other guys having that title, but he hasn't lost since 2019. He's unbeaten in the UFC. They just don't ever talk about it. He's not even ranked highly either. He's ranked 13th. So just bizarre matchmaking in my opinion, the way they kind of treat Dustin Jacoby. But I am very excited for his return. This should be a banger of a fight on paper. I can see either guy winning this one. But nonetheless, it should be a lot of fun. Undercard, man. Phil Hawes, Roman Didelize. That should be a lot of fun. Andrei Arlovsky is back, man. I think his return is I don't see people talking about it, man, which is kind of a shame because I think he's kind of on the best stretch in a long, long time. I don't want to say of his career, but I'll say a long time. How about that? 4 wins in a row. 6 of his last 7. He said that he's trying to make a run for a title. UFC just keeps on giving him, meh guys that are not ranking him. He is 43, going to be 44 in a couple of months. He's taking on Marcos Rogerio de Lima. That should be a fun fight, man. Marcos Rogerio de Lima is he's not great, honestly, as a fighter, but he does come at a bang, and he's had some big wins in his career to date, so that should be a lot of fun. Also, the undercard, Joseph Holmes taking on Park John Young should be a lot of fun. Chase Hoomer making a return against Steve Garcia.
I'm excited for that one.
You're excited for that one? I
think that's one of the big ones for me. I mean, he's the original youngest guy in the UFC for a while there, at least in the Contender Series. I mean, before Raul Rosas Jr. was Raul Rosas Jr., we had Chase Hooper.
Correct. And he's a guy that's also improving a lot fight to fight. I mean, his last win against Felipe Corrales, he got the TKO. And he was battering him on the feet. He was actually doing some really good things on the feet, man. He was out striking him, landing some big shots. Very excited to see what happens to him in the future. Still only 23, man. Still only 23. Wild stuff. But, yeah, man, this card is pretty good.
No love for Tresean Gore, Josh?
Oh, I forgot to shout out Tresean
He loses
Gore.
one fight, Josh, and you just...
Well, he's lost 2 fights. He's fucking going to lose 3 here.
No, he's not.
You think he's going to beat our boy Josh Fremd?
I think he could be. I think he possibly could be Josh Fremd.
I mean, he could, but... I don't think he will though. But we'll see what happens.
I mean, you'll be mistaken. I'm dropping $100 on that one.
That, you know what? That's your prerogative. That's your thing, man. If you want to throw $100 on Tresean Gore who am
Yo,
I to tell you?
Trayshawn, I hope you listen to this clip. I'm betting 100 on you, bro.
I just think, if you want to part with your money, that's fine.
You mean if I want to make money? Scared money don't make money, Josh.
Okay, again, all I'm gonna say is this, dude, even if he wins this fight, I would not feel good about betting on this fight. Like, you're betting on two guys who are both relatively new UFC guys, newcomers we have not seen a lot of. So, if you want to do it, go for it, man. I just would not. But
Trayshawn's a dog, Josh. You'll see. You'll see when I win.
I like Trayshawn. I picked him to win the entire the whole season. But is what it is. But yeah, man, we got some more fights to talk about. Bellator 287 is going down same night from Milan, Italy, in the Allianz Cloud Arena. Lightweights, Adam Piccolotti, Mansour Banoué gonna get 5 rounds here. What do you think about this matchup, man? We have not seen Mansour Banoué. I probably pronounced his name wrong. If I am, I apologize.
think that's pretty solid, though.
Regardless, though, he's on a 7-fight win streak. Has not really faced any top-tier competition. And is also making his Bellator debut. Kind of rare to see him put somebody in their debut in the main event. But what do you think about this matchup? It's kind of like a low-key Bellator card.
By the way, out of action since 2019.
Yeah, that's a big part, too.
I mean, look, it seems like I'm guessing he had been signed a while ago, maybe injuries or life stuff. Who knows what might have happened, right? But, look, he is a heavy finish guy. I don't know if I didn't get enough time to look into him, but a lot of submissions, a lot of KOs. I mean, it looks like he's always looking to finish the fight. 30 years young, taking on Adam Piccolotti. Also, we kind of know, his repertoire at this point. Also strong on the ground, lots of finishes on the ground. Got a Bellator. I mean, he's one of those guys who's been in Bellator pretty much their whole career, right? For the most part. Since 2015. Let's look at it real quick. Good matchup. The Frenchman kind of scares me. He's been out of action, but I'm gonna pick him.
Yeah, I mean, this kid does look good, like on paper, and in terms of, I've seen a couple of highlights of him over from his Road FC days. He looks good. That 3-year layoff gives me a lot of pause, and especially coming back from a 3-year layoff to fight 5 rounds for the first time in your career. I mean, that's a big ask for just about anybody. So I'm going to go and take Adam Piccolotti to pull out the win here. Co-main event, Fabian Edwards, Charlie Ward, couple of ranked middleweights, both trying to get into that title contention, get that elusive title shot. Who do you think in this one?
Fabian Edwards, man, I need to give you credit, or I need to give him credit, not you, Josh. I still always give you credit, Josh.
Fuck you.
Josh, I'm actually calling.
We're ending the show. No, all right, go ahead.
I challenge you to a no time limit, submission only, jiu-jitsu fight, just so you know.
Yeah, I will do it. Just, you can't.
Hey, it
has to happen, but it has to happen before you start training jiu-jitsu.
Josh, actually, you don't know this, but I've actually been training the last 3 years.
Well, I'm still going to land a flying armbar on you. There's nothing. There's nothing you can do about it. Anyways, yeah, go ahead and give it.
To really back in, Fabian Edwards last time out, man, impressive performance against Lyoto Machida. That actually surprised the shit out of me. Granted, Lyoto not in his best days now. Decided to come to 185 after being at 205 for his last few fights, if I remember right.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that wasn't the move. Fabian, right now, man, I'm sure a lot of hype at the gym. Brother's been putting in the work. Charlie Ward, man, good guy, comes forward a lot. Irish, comes out of SBG. We know the gym.
We know the gym. We know the deal with him. UFC vet,
Yeah, I mean, at 41 years old, taking on a younger guy. I mean, it's a tough fight. I mean, Fabian, unlike his brother, a little bit more outspoken, a little bit more out there. I don't know. I'm kind of favoring Fabian Edwards, especially now that the gym has, I remember a fighter talking about this. Like, dude, when a guy in your gym wins a title, there's something that goes around. Like, everybody starts working harder. Everybody starts getting a little bit more motivated. It kind of lights a fight, it lights a fire under your ass that just makes you want to do good. Mm-hmm. So I'm curious to see if that kind of transfers over to his brother. Obviously, they're both different human beings. They're both different in their own unique way. They're never going to be the same. And who knows? Anything could happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. I'm also going to go ahead and pick Fabian. I think this is probably the best fight of the card, honestly. Top to bottom.
I mean, I'd argue.
What other fight do you think is better?
I think Saul Rogers, especially as he's made his move to 155. I think him versus Tim Wild could be very interesting.
That was probably my backup pick, just because of the big Saul.
I mean, the one under that
Rogers
too.
card.
I mean, the three below that are also very good. Justin Gonzalez.
Yeah.
Davy Gallen, who made his debut. I think it was his debut at his last in France. He had a crazy fucking fight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there are a couple of good fights on this card, but for my money, that co-main event is the best fight. I'm going to go take Fabian Edwards to win, but I would not be surprised if Charlie Ward wins. He's kind of like, I remember whenever his UFC run ended, he was essentially a joke. He got pretty much signed as like, it almost looked like a favor to Conor. It was one of those signings. And he got fucked up and knocked out instantly in both fights. Got cut, made his way to Bellator, and he's looked good. I understand he hasn't really fought like the top tier competition, but like, there's a big step up for him, and I'm expecting this fight to be a lot of fun, you know? But I'm going to take Fabian Edwards. You did mention a couple of other undercard fights, big ones to watch for. Obviously, Saul Rogers on the main card, Justin Gonzalez on the main card. You mentioned Davy Gallen on the YouTube prelims. T-Balt Gutu, you may remember from his UFC days. Hell of a run outside the UFC. 4 wins in a row since then, including making his Bellator debut in France. Picked up a big win there. Also on the undercard, Oleg Popov. You heard of this guy?
Yes. Do you know why I've heard of this guy, Josh?
Why have you heard of this kid?
He may or may have not knocked out someone we like.
Yeah, he knocked out Bigfoot last time out. He's actually a legitimately good heavyweight prospect, which is partially why that fight was so fucked up to begin with. But, yeah, he's won 12 in a row at heavyweight. He seems to have all the tools.
He's only 6'1".
Yeah, he's only 6'1", but he's built like a brick shit house though.
Same.
So yeah, I mean he's gonna be fun on the early prelims as well, I believe. Actually, they've not said where he's gonna be on that card. So anyways, yeah. Other guys watching the prelims, Simon Biong, who you may have heard, been in Bellator for a while now, had a couple of entertaining fights. Should be a lot of fun to have him back as well. And then the last guy I want to go and shout out, Costello Von Steenis. This kid actually beat Fabian Edwards. I say this kid, he's like 30. But this dude actually beat Fabian Edwards before. Solid guy. He's actually been out of action since that win over Fabian.
2 years.
2 years to ending a long layoff. So yeah, man, that should be very exciting to see him return. Yeah, man, overall, Bellator card, like, it's not that great, but there are some names to watch out for. So that's a bit of a low-key card going down on Saturday. And I believe because of the time difference, I believe it'll be happening before UFC and before Jake Paul versus Anderson Silva. So that's solid. That'll be nice. But
there you go.
Anyways, man, time to move on to the news because we talked last week, I believe. We're kind of like going to a bit of like a dark space with boxing a little bit, like because Terrence Crawford's not going to fight Errol Spence, but we are possibly, hopefully, getting a big fight next. Ryan Garcia, who he's been saying for a while now, like, I'm down with it. I'm here for the smoke. I want Tank. Most people didn't really take him seriously, but they now reportedly agreed to a framework. I'm going to go ahead and quote it. They've reportedly now agreed to the framework of a deal. It's important context. For a 136-pound catchweight fight targeted for January in Las Vegas. However, they still don't have a broadcaster situation figured out for the deal, which is the biggest part of the deal. So, Angel, what do you think about this fight? What do you think about the possibility of these two squaring off next? And what do you think is going to possibly go down with the broadcasting situation? Because we know that PBC may be getting out of the Fox game. Showtime, we don't know what's going to happen there with them, especially considering they may be folding into Paramount and so on and so forth. What do you think about the ultimate fight itself and it possibly being made next?
I mean, much credit to Ryan. I mean, Ryan's been calling out this fight for the longest time. He's been wanting it. It's been clear. There's no hesitation about it. I mean, credit to the kid, right? I mean, it's been like this for quite some time now. I mean, for years he's been calling him out. I mean, we've been here during that whole time in which he's been calling him out and saying, I want that fight. I want Tank next. Tank is my next opponent. He even laid out his roadmap at one point, like, I'm going to fight Linares and then Campbell and then Tank or Devin, or I forgot how it went, but he gave us essentially the roadmap of his career at that point. Kind of skipping a few steps, didn't get some opponents, I'm assuming, during that time. Obviously took off time for a mental break, cause he was going through some stuff, but, back in action, has had a match in that time, looked good. New coach, a lot of stuff has changed for Ryan, but nevertheless, I mean, in that time, Tank's been being Tank, you know, doing Tank shit. You know, he's been doing the same thing. And, look, obviously Ryan hasn't been in those super big matches like the Haney, the Teofimos, the Gervonta Davises. Obviously, he's had big matches of his following. The people have showed out for him because he's such a big name in social media. I mean, the people love him. Guys like him. Girls love him even more. I mean, he has the perfect package, right? I mean, and kid can, it seems like he can box. Obviously, and some eyes still very untested. Some people think the Gervonta fight would be very, not competitive at all. I beg to differ. I think he will show some good skills. I mean, look, at the end of the day, we got to see, right? You never know what could happen. I know that you personally given the opinion that you think he could do some stuff. But as far as the broadcasting thing, I mean, fuck it, dude. They'll find someone. It's boxing. Someone will promote it. They'll get someone to do something. There's just no way it doesn't happen in some capacity,
Yeah. I don't know, man. I think that this fight, it just seems too good to be true. You know what I mean? Like, just coming out of it, like, we've heard murmurs that they've been in talks, but like outside of that,
is the cake a lie?
What?
Is the cake a lie? Yeah.
The cake might be a lie. It might be a lie, man. Cause this fight, it just seems like a little bit too good to be true, and I'm very cautious. I've made this a point now on this show. I don't like talking about boxing unless it's done, unless the deal is done. Because we've been burned so many times. I mean, even just in recent years. I mean, we spent a year and a half waiting for Tyson Fury to fight Deontay Wilder for the third time. Remember that? That was rough.
There was a lot to that though, Josh. You gotta admit COVID, and then it seemed like Tyson didn't want to do it because of, whatever, or who knows. I mean, there was a lot to it. Step away money. There's a lot to it,
Yeah, but there's a lot to all of this stuff.
I know, but that one in specific though.
No, fair enough. But there are still other ones like Crawford and Spence and most big, I mean, Fury, Joshua we just saw.
I know. Hey man, Josh, I'll say this.
Sick.
The only one that I'm pissed that we never got to see was Canelo versus Makabu. I'm just gonna be honest.
I know, you're still on that one, man.
Hey man, you never know.
I know. But anyways, man. Yeah, I don't got a whole lot to say about this one. I would love to see it. Don't know if it'll happen though. But
look, they've been pushing it very hard. Like they've been trying. It seems like in comparison to some of the other ones, there's a lot of effort put towards this one, and they're actually negotiating and trying to figure out numbers. They have a weight, you know what I mean? There's a lot to it.
Yeah. I agree. I see your point. But anyways, man, time to move on. Cause there is a Bellator and Ryzen card, which will be happening on December 31st. It's their first time doing an event together in a minute. What do you think about this card? Obviously, we have a couple of names attached, I know that Patricio is going to be involved. I know that AJ McKee is going to be involved. It's going to be a main card of 5 fights in Bellator and Rising guys going against each other. Dude, I'm so down with this. I think this is awesome. And it's been a while since you've had one of these kind of cards like this. What do you think about it?
I mean, it's a sick thing. I mean, there's no other promotion doing anything similar. I'm just curious to see what are going to be the fights, because I saw the poster. I don't remember what it all was, but I saw like, you said it, I think I even mentioned like Archuleta, what is it? Horiguchi?
Cool. Yeah, Horiguchi's going to be involved on Team Bellator, weirdly enough.
Yeah, so I don't know exactly if they're going to do like champion versus champion or some fucking big names or like some cross sport type thing, or is, I'm just curious to see how it goes down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be fun to see it go down. Obviously, but this is going down in Saitama Super Arena in Japan.
Which is already sick as it is.
It is sick. I mean, that's the OG, like, goated arena. So, yeah, man, I'm very excited for this card to happen. Obviously, we'll talk about it more whenever more names get attached. But you also got a fight announcement. It's going to be UFC 284, Robert Whittaker versus Paulo Costa in Australia. This one's interesting just because it kind of gives a peek into what the UFC may be thinking after the middleweight title fight. Both of these guys are coming off of big wins. They're in title contention, but also a lot depends on how things go with, obviously, Israel Adesanya and Alex Pereira next month in MSG. What do you think of this matchup, though, and it being announced?
I mean, it's fun. I mean, those guys, I think, they had to fight at some point, right, Josh? It was just something that we couldn't be prevented from. Let's be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Those guys had to compete at some point, and I mean, it's a banger of a matchup. I mean, Josh, if the main event is Alexander Volkanovski and Islam Makhachev for the 155 title, and the co-main is Paulo Costa and Robert Whittaker, holy fuck, Australia, you are blessed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. Obviously, I think they're even going to add some bigger fights to that card too. I don't think that's going to be the co-main either. You know what I mean? I think that there's
well, who knows? I mean, they could still add, Bam Bam.
Yeah, there's no. Oh my God, they're going to bring all the boys.
I mean,
Dan
Hooker, Kai Kara France.
Yep, they're going to have all the boys.
Riddell. Well, he's fighting soon, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is Brad Riddell? I'm mixing him up with the other guy. Brad Riddell. There's another one that look kind of that I always confuse, who have very similar records. It's not Gregor Gillespie. Which one is Australia? That's one of those two.
Brad Riddell is going to fight Hanato Moicano at UFC 281.
But Brad Riddell's the Australian, right? I always get him and Gregor mixed up in my head.
Yeah, Gregor is an American wrestler who does not fight. Yeah.
Josh, didn't have to call out the man.
No, I actually love Gregor. That's why it irritates me that he doesn't fight.
But,
sounded like I was throwing shade, but I wish he would just fight more.
Yeah, there you go. But yeah, no, there's a lot of names that could be added onto that. And you said you don't think that's gonna be the. I mean, who could you put as a co-main event? Come on, it's Robert Whittaker.
I don't know, man. We'll see. But I think they're really gonna flesh out that card, man. I think considering this is the first one announced and they're doing that. I mean, that's literally gonna be the pound for pound number 3 versus the pound for pound number 1 in the main event. By the time the fight happens, they'll probably move him up to number 2.
And then how many people fill up that arena? 50K? 45?
I don't know where I don't know where it is. I don't know if they're doing a stadium show or not.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. I didn't even think about that.
Last time they did a stadium show, but I don't know. Dana hates doing stadium shows because he hates fun, so I don't know if that's what they're going to do this time.
Well, fuck, who knows? We'll find out soon enough.
Well, actually, it is going to take place at the RAC Arena, which...
How's this?
It's just a normal arena.
Damn.
Yeah.
So how many? 16?
15.
Hey, I was close. Give me credit.
You were pretty close. Kind of lame, though. Not going to lie. But anyways, we'll just have to hope they do a London stadium show. But yeah, man, overall, excellent fight. Very excited for that one. Moving on, dude. This one. Friend of the show. Dada 5000. You guys are probably wondering, wait a minute, where have I heard that name? Dada 5000 fought Kimbo Slice in Bellator 6 years ago.
R.I.P.
R.I.P. to the big man upstairs. The GOAT. Street fighting GOAT. But anyways, he ended up losing that one. Fight was overturned because Kimbo tested positive for an elevated testosterone ratio. So
he was just that much of a man, Josh.
He was just that much of a man. And Dada 5000 is undefeated. So anyways, he's been out of action because he nearly died in that fight. He suffered from cardiac arrest, severe hydration, and kidney failure during the contest. This is so funny because he had a fight announced yesterday. He was going to fight in his own promotion, BYB Extreme, which if you guys don't know why why Triller Triad, you know why they're not around anymore? Because they stole the idea. They stole the Trigon from Dada 5000 and his organization and they sued them. So that's why they don't use that little thing anymore. They don't use that ring. And they had hosted a show in a year. Just a fight, in November 13th. Fight's already been scrapped. Literally by the time I wrote up the news for BJPenn.com, greatest MMA site on the planet, the fight was already off. So, yeah, it took less than 8 hours. So, yeah, what do you think about this news and him trying to make a comeback?
Good for him. He's been out of action. I mean, he's an interesting guy. He has a character. He has a following. I mean, why? It's exciting.
Here's my question though: Would you watch? What's your excitement level? Let's say he gets a fight booked. How excited would you be to see the return of Dada 5000?
I mean, I've never been a crazy Dada,
wait a minute, Angel, are you telling me that you have baby nuts?
No.
Do you have baby nuts?
I do not.
Sounds like you got baby nuts, man.
I don't.
You fool!
I don't.
I'm gonna get off this podcast and just go rewatch the
Is that whole lead up?
The press conference between fucking Kimbo and Dada. That's the greatest press conference of all time.
Is it though? I mean, what are
Yes.
some of your favorite press conferences? What kind of
favorite pressers? Oh man. So that one, that was Bellator 149, I think. That was Kimbo and Dada arguing about the size of their nuts. Not even dick, just nuts.
Yeah, right. Not even their dick, their fucking nuts.
They just they kept it PG. They were threatening to pull out their nuts, but like they weren't gonna say, because Kimbo didn't want to say any bad words, so he said his daughter was right there. He's like, oh, I don't want to curse in front of a baby girl, you know.
What a kick, Chad.
I know, but he was also like, I'll pull out my nuts right now, but my nuts are bigger than yours.
Jesus.
You got baby nuts, Dada, baby nuts. But yeah, that's a classic. UFC 205, Connor just eviscerating everyone on stage. Who the fuck is that guy? Dude, I remember watching that press conference. I was waiting to be picked up from West.
Did I watch that? Who did I remember watching that.
No, I remember it was as we were getting out of school.
I must have watched it afterwards, because I remember who the fuck is that guy? You know?
Yeah, I'll never forget that, because I remember standing there with my earbuds in, just, you know, waiting to be picked up at high school. You know, it was like freshman year, sophomore year, I don't know. But anyways, I just remember sitting in that little circle drive, you know, just watching that shit. Great memory. But yeah, that was an all-time great presser. What's another good one? Brock at UFC 200 is great. That's another good one.
Do you like Bisping and GSP?
Bisping Rockhold?
No, GSP and Bisping.
Oh, Bisping. Oh, that's a good one too. Are you intoxicated, Michael? Michael, are you intoxicated?
Shut up, George. Shut up. No one gives a fuck.
Michael,
guys,
you should
I'm
have
sorry.
the press conference and you are intoxicated, Michael. Yeah, that was fun.
Oh, what's another good one off? I mean, dude, in recent memory, Sean Strickland. Dude, and him and Izzy and all that.
That was hilarious. That was comedy, dude. And then he proceeds to go out and get knocked out by Alex Mejia.
I'll never forgive Sean Strickland for losing to Alex Mejia, because I was prevented from a lead-up, potentially, of Sean Strickland and Israel Adesanya in a pay-per-view.
Dude, trust me. Same page, man. Same page.
I bet you the PR is like, we dodged a fucking bullet, guys. We dodged a lot of bullets there.
That's hilarious.
That's another good one in recent memory. Fuck. I had one in the back of my head. Fucking Chael and Tito. That was another good one.
That was a good one.
That was a good one. What was another one? Fuck. Habib and Max. It never happened, but that was a good one. That was the first person who got Habib talking.
Yeah, Max was not messing around. He was fired up, man. I rewatched that presser not too long ago. That was so much fun.
Brian Ortega Max. That was another good one. He's talking his shit.
Sometimes you don't have a response is the coldest line that nobody remembers. Like, you know, somebody, I don't remember what they were talking about, but like, somebody asked Brian a question about like, you know, and Max was like, I've beaten like all the guys in this division. They brought you in because I have nobody else left to beat, you know? And somebody asked him like, what do you think about Max's resume? And, you know, him kind of saying all that stuff. And he's like, you know, sometimes the best response is no response. And Max just cuts him off. Sometimes you have no response. And I'm like, woo! Blessed era, baby. Let's go.
And then, you know, you gotta get away from MMA, Josh, and boxing. Antonio Tarver chasing down Roy Jones Jr. after fight, telling him, you need to fight me. He, you know, all of this, all of that. I don't remember, dude, but he would roll up there with his phone and everything, go out there. He'd be like, come on, you know, he's calling him out. He would be there at every fight.
By the way, and this is somewhat off topic, but if we're talking about cold moments, after the first fight where, I think Roy won a split, or it was like a majority decision. It was really, really close. They did the rematch, and they were like, you got any questions, Roy? You got any questions, Antonio? Antonio goes, yeah, I got a question. You got any excuses tonight, Roy? You got any excuses tonight, Roy? And he goes and knocks him out 40 seconds later. Even though it's like a Roy Jones stand, I'm like, woo!
That is one of the greatest moments in boxing. I put that up recently because it's just that cold.
It's just so cold, man. Just fucking ruthless, man. That was just insane.
What was another one in recent time? I mean, there's been a lot, dude, where people shut people up and they're just like, you're like, fuck, dude.
Yeah, man, there's been some good ones, but yeah, I mean,
got me hyped. Got me hyped up, Josh, and I might have to go watch the press series.
Fuck yeah, dude! I'm gonna go ahead and go and watch Bellator.
You know what? You know what? Something that we need to get in MMA, Josh. I know we're like very, you know, we're staring off a lot here, but fuck it, dude. It's our podcast. We get to talk about what the fuck we want.
Damn right.
Is face-offs, like face to face is, because dude, I literally rewatched DC versus Jones with Joe in the middle, like all like fully the 30 minutes, because it's so fucking good.
Yeah.
Like, dude, I don't know how Joe wasn't scared, dude. There was no stopping these two guys if they started going at it.
Exactly. Well, you know what? I think that I dislike John. I think I've made this very well known. I'm not a big fan.
Oh my God, Josh, really?
Yeah, I know. I think I've made this very well known. But that in the face off, whenever John says to DC, like, every single moment you spent preparing for this would be a complete waste of your life, is like the coldest moment, because it is. When you really think about it, like all those long nights DC had thinking about the fight, all the days he spent training in the gym, all the blood, sweat, and tears that he put in that fight camp were for nothing. Not only that, but because
that is mentally breaking, dude.
But here's the thing: is that quote goes even deeper when you realize Jones and DC were scheduled multiple times. They only fought twice, but they were scheduled like 5 times. Yeah. So there were like 3 times where DC literally he didn't even get paid to fight John Jones. Like,
you saw when he got the fight canceled because of the pictogram. I mean, you see that clip, he fucking loses it.
Yeah, and I don't blame him, dude. Imagine like I can't even. See, it's one of those things. Like, I'm happy I don't have like I'm not a fighter, you know. Like, I don't know how I deal mentally with putting in work every single day for 6 months. Let's just say, probably for example, like I guarantee his fight camp was 6 months. Probably like getting out of camp, like trying to get the fight, trying to negotiate the fight, getting the fight, having a multi-long, camp, and then getting 3 days before it, being told, yeah, you're not going to be able to fight.
Well, the mental thing is such a big thing in fighting, man.
Yeah, it's huge.
It really is. You never really talk about it, but if you're not confident, how are you going to win? You know what I mean? If you're not mentally strong, how are you ever going to deal with adversity? There's a lot to it. I mean, it goes very deep, and especially if you got a guy on the other end who's like Connor, who's just coming at you, or a Diaz. And then in the fight, they're doing it too, and you're losing, and you have to come back and face it through adversity. I mean, look, there's, and obviously all the shit talk, and especially if it's true. I mean, one of the things that I'll never forget from that DC and that Jones one that's aged incredibly well is when DC tells him, "You're a fuck up, and you're always going to be a fuck up. You're going to do it repeatedly." You see that PR lady over there? She knows she's fighting a never-ending battle. Mm-hmm. It was one of the most like, holy fuck, personal moments ever.
Mm-hmm.
Like shit like that.
Yeah, I mean, also a lot of it plays into rivalries, and I don't think we'll have a rivalry like that for a long time.
I hope, man. I hope one day we need it.
Yeah, but just to go ahead and wrap up, we do have one last bit of news. Bo Nickel, who we've talked a lot about on the show, he doesn't really beat many guys of note, but he's the greatest prospect in, he's probably the greatest prospect since I started watching MMA. He's supposed to fight Jamie Pickett UFC 282 in December. There's going to be a stacked card. Pulled out due to an injury. Probably won't make his debut until March now. What do you think?
Heartbreaking. I mean, the reason I brought this up in the green room was because Bo Nickel had promised us we're going to have him this year. Are you kind of sad, disappointed we're not going to get Bo Nickel again this year like we wanted to?
I mean, I'd love it if he did fight, but I'm not going to. How about that? Look.
I mean, it was a hit. It was a hit for me because I wanted to see his level. I thought this was really going to be a good test.
Yeah, but he has so much time, man. He's not going to be out for too long.
I know, but it would have been nice to get one in before the year. Hopefully he's healthy. Get another one at the start of the early next year. There's a lot to it.
Yeah, it'll be all right though. It'll be all right.
There was another fight that got announced, Josh, that we didn't bring up.
Yeah,
how do you feel it? He's the one essentially replacing Bo Nickel on that card, right?
I don't know about replacing it. That's been in the works for a while. Because wait a minute. No, never mind. He might be the one replacing. Kind of like it's like the big attraction fight. I know he's talked about for a while trying to get a big fight before the end of the year, either MSG or Vegas. So I think it's been in the works for a while, but I don't know for sure. But regardless,
I'm assuming it was something that wasn't guaranteed though at the time.
Yeah, regardless, it is a very good fight.
Was it Jared Gordon, right? I believe.
Yeah, correct. Jared Gordon.
Tough guy. I mean, Patty's having the proper build-up. I've said this always. I mean, the competition's getting slightly better, but it's obviously it's not top level yet. But they're doing it right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. I mean, they're doing him the right way. Some guys they get pushed too quickly. Some guys take a bit of a slow road. Patty, I feel like they're going at like almost the perfect pace because Jared Gordon's a good guy. I could see him beating Patty, but at the same time, I mean, I probably wouldn't pick him. you know? And that's what you want, is you want just a little
Would
bit
you
of
bet
mystery.
$100 on Paddy Pimblett to win this fight?
Man, I don't even like betting more than $2. So no. You know?
Did bet $3 on Paddy Pimblett.
I'd probably bet $3 on Paddy Pimblett.
There you
Probably
go.
would. But yeah, man, I mean, I don't got too many thoughts on that fight. I think it's a good one. I think it's a very good fight, but yeah, we'll see what happens, because that fight's only a month and a half away now. Like, the end of the year is coming quick, dude. So, but yeah, that's all I got for the show. Anything else we talk about before we close out?
Nothing in specific, man. I think we covered everything pretty well. I'm excited because really the pay-per-view is 2 weeks away, right?
Correct.
2 weeks away. And MSG, big fight for Israel Adesanya, the trilogy for him and Alex Bahia, right? Not technically, right, in MMA, but if you're going from 2 kickboxing matches to their, now 1 MMA match, they're going to have a trilogy, Not exactly, but, yeah, and let's see what happens I mean, that's a while away from now. I'm now kind of mentioning that kind of prematurely. Obviously, we have a great main event next week. Nothing to take away from the ladies. I'm sure that's going to pay out well. And obviously, the results of this weekend are going to be. I mean, we'll see what happens with Cater. If Arnold Allen wins, kind of shoot himself up for a title position. And obviously, a lot of young guys and a heavyweight we didn't mention. And I believe Acosta. I think he's from Dominican Republic, 7-0, fighting Jared Vandera. Potential another guy in heavyweight. Maybe doing something. And obviously, Chase Hooper, Tristan Gore, see if he can come back from his loss. Josh Fremd, who's also trying to bounce back from a loss. I mean, we talked about it a lot. We kind of enter it, but it's, there's just a lot that we're going to come back with. And, let's see how Bellator goes, especially for this French guy we hadn't, he's been away from the game since 2019. She's able to bounce back, and Saul Rogers, see if he can continue his move at 155 and see if it's still successful and potentially get into those good opponents at 155 that kind of have the name value in Bellator.
Mm-hmm. Correct, you laid it out really well there. There's a lot of combat to watch this weekend. There's a little bit of something for everyone.
And Jake Paul Silva. Holy fuck.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the big one.
Yeah, and there's like I said, there's a little bit of something for everybody on every single fight card this weekend. Bellator, there's some good fights. UFC, there's some good fights. Even Jake Paul and Anderson Silva. Even if you're not like a guy who's in a freak show fights, like Ashton Silva's on the undercard, and he's a legitimately great prospect. So there's something for everyone this weekend. And, yeah, I think we did a pretty good job previewing it all, man. Bit of a long episode. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm at Josh Evanoff on Twitter. He's at AngelTech_01 at Courtside Sound for all things relating to the show. Peace and butt grease. Mouse click.